Hey everyone, how's it going? So we have this post form now looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and add some functionality to it. So what we want to happen is when we start typing, it will enable the button, because at the moment this post button is disabled, but then also it will disable it once we get rid of any text in there. And you can see we've got this this outline here. It's the same outline we see if we tab onto these buttons here. If you want to get rid of that, you can. It's very simple to get rid of, but it's there for accessibility reasons. So a lot of people that use keyboard navigations or rely on keyboard navigations for whatever reason, it's there so they know what is being highlighted. But if you didn't like the way it looked and you wanted to get rid of it, you can just by going to the top of your CSS file. And if you just go to underneath the root, we'll put a star, which means apply this to all of the stuff. So apply to everything. We're going to just say outline none, and then we'll even put important there as well. Now the important keyword essentially means that this is important, do not override this. So any of the things underneath that, so if you gave something, if you tried to set an outline on something else to some other value, it wouldn't be applied because the important will take precedence, and it's basically saying do not override this value. So yeah, if you want to do that, you can. And now if I refresh the page real quick, just to show you, when I click on the box, there's no outline around it. But of course, when I tab onto these buttons, you can't see where you're tabbed onto. So if you want to support keyboard navigation, you should probably enable some sort of visual indicator as to what the user is focused on. But anyway, that's a different issue entirely. So let's get on to the JavaScript code we're going to use to enable and disable this button when we need to. So what we're going to do is go ahead and create a JavaScript file. Now we haven't actually done this yet. We haven't created our own JavaScript file, or our own client-side JavaScript file. I mean, we've created plenty of JavaScript files on the server, but none in this public folder, which will be used by the front end of our site. So what we're going to do is in this folder where we've got CSS and images, you know, the public one, we're going to go ahead and create a new folder in there. So I'll right click on the public folder, click new folder, and just call this JS for JavaScript. And in there we'll create a new file, and let's just call this common.js. Now common.js is going to be where all the shared code between our site will go. So each individual page can have its own JavaScript file, and they will have their own JavaScript files, but the JavaScript files specific to each page will have the code that is only needed on that page, whereas the common.js will be included on all the pages, and it will contain shared code that each of the pages can reuse if they want to. So we're going to have the functionality for posting and enabling and disabling this button in the shared folder. And the reason for that is when we come to do this reply functionality, if I click on the button right there, you'll see we've got the same sort of behavior here. So we're going to reuse that behavior elsewhere as well. And I know this is on the same page, but if we go to a different page, like this view post page, this is a different page. So we want to be able to reuse this behavior later on. So that's why we're going to put this in the shared JavaScript file. So anyway, we've added this file. Now we need to link to it. So go to main layout, scroll down to the bottom, underneath these scripts right here. Let's just add our own one, and if you want, you can add an extra space below just to separate our JavaScript files to the ones that have been hosted on external sites. So anyway, let's add a script, and the src is going to be the link to this JavaScript file, which we know is just -js-common.js, like this. And that's it. That's all we need. That JavaScript file is linked, and we can start using it now. Just to make sure it works, what we can do is just make it do something real quick. So we'll write a document.ready block. So we're going to write some jQuery code, and it will say document.ready. I'll explain this in a second if you haven't seen this before. Document.ready, and inside the parentheses, we're going to put a function. So we'll just go like this, create an arrow function, and we'll just say alert SpongeBob. All right. So if I go to this page and refresh the page, we see an error. Let's see what it means. Oh, I added a semicolon. You don't use semicolons in code. That's my mistake. So I'll go down to here and remove the semicolon and refresh the page again. And we see alert SpongeBob. Okay, so we know this file is linked correctly. If you're not seeing that, make sure you right click inspect, and check the console tab. You might have some errors there, or an error saying that it can't find the file or something like that. So just check the console. But anyway, as far as this code right here, well, what is that? What we've just done is we've wrote what's known as a document.ready handler, appropriately named. So what it does is it waits until the document, i.e. the page, is ready, which means once the page has loaded all of its dependencies, so once it's loaded all of these JavaScript files, then it will execute the document.ready. So this will not be used, or executed I mean, until all of the dependencies have been loaded. Now, the reason it's good is because you can then run code which uses these dependencies. If you didn't wait till the document is ready and you started using things from inside those files, these might not have loaded fully yet, so you might have some problems where things aren't defined. So that's what the document.ready is. You're basically saying when the document is ready, do some code, and we've just put an anonymous function in there. And yeah, it's worth noting that these arrow functions, if you didn't already know, arrow functions are just another way of writing functions, so it's exactly the same as if we did this function and created a function this way. That is exactly the same. The arrow functions are just a new way with new versions of JavaScript where you can just declare the function that way. I've got my parentheses wrong, so let me just get rid of that. So yeah, that's it. We're going to get rid of this alert. We don't need that. We just added it to see if the file was added correctly. We'll keep the document.ready there, and then we can just use it if we need to later on. I don't know if we're going to use it for anything in this common file, but we can keep it there anyway. Yeah, we're ready to start writing some code in here.